What we wish we had done is the voice of regret, speaking in a sorrowful tone at a time when there is no going back. This is regret.
Why do we live our life to be validated so much by strangers? Why do we let these people dictate how we feel about ourselves? Our self-esteem, our worth depends on if they like it or not. Who cares? Those people ain't gonna be there when times get hard. Those people don't even like you. Half of them don't. Those people don't really care about you.
When you're about to make those extreme jumps and leaps, it's always going to be your friends and your family. They will be the first ones to try and talk you out of what God has put on your heart to do.
All the rearview mirror does is allows you to see what you've passed and to prevent what you've passed from coming up on you again. The windshield is your future. It's where you're going. It's where you're headed. I hope you all picked up this today. And think about that, how that affects your life.
Every time you learn something new, you push something old out of your brain. See, a lot of people don't want to learn now, and that's okay. That's none of your business, none of my business. But if you're one of those like me, hungry, people that are hungry are willing to learn. You're keeping your mind active because you're engaged in this thing called life. You still have a presence. You're a force to be reckoned with. You have greatness in you. Yes, I'm going for it. There are more lives for me to touch, more lives for me to transform.
Don't dilute the vision and don't pollute it with how you want it. Don't weaken it by diluting it. Don't pollute it by adding to it. Some of the people you're trying to straighten out, they're not going to ever be straightened out. They're chickens when you're supposed to be sailing with the eagles. And that chicken with all that gawking and flapping ain't going to never fly. And you just chasing behind something that's not going to ever jump over 4 feet in the air. You could have been soaring with eagles and you're fooling with them chickens. They're chickens. Feed them and keep on walking.
Enlightened self-interest needs to be educated. I will learn that life is not just the passing of time.
If you have a support system in place, that's beautiful. I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't really see what you see, but I'm in full support of you. Go make it happen. But in most cases, if you open up your mouth trying to explain to people what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, they will be the first people to try and talk you out.
I think that among the things that prevent us from acting is the fear of failure. And if you've already failed, you don't want to fail again, the pain of that. The fear of loss is another thing. Because many times when we do those things that we know we need to do, we feel that we might lose somebody. Many of us don't act because we want other people's approval. And that's not possible. Many of us don't do the things that we want to do and don't act because of lack of self-confidence. We don't believe enough in ourselves.
Watch out for we's, because people will control you with a we, and you will miss your opportunity trying to be loyal to the we, and all of a sudden, in order to fit in your sociological environment, you passed up the promotion, you passed up the position that you wanted to take because you want the people you're sitting beside to like you and accept you.
The little decisions that you make, they matter. They add up, and you have to connect those dots. Otherwise, you don't know where you're going to end up, and it might be bad.
I just beat me. This ain't about nobody else. I just beat me. If I can keep beating myself, pause, if I can keep doing that, then that means that I'm in a battle with the only person that I really want and beat, and that's me. I don't care about anybody else. I have no worry or gripe about the next man or woman's journey. That's not what I'm up against. If I can continue to outdo me from the day before, then I'm ahead.
I will learn that life is the collection of experiences, highs and lows, laughter and tears. You must decide to act. You must have the discipline to act. One discipline affects another discipline. Everything affects everything else. Nothing stands alone.
If you're always seeking a certain status to validate who you are, you're never going to have peace. You can't climb up to find yourself. You have to find yourself so you can climb up. So you can be who you are before anybody knows who you are. If you listen at discouragement, it will cause you to make bad decisions. It will cause you to think that life is not worth living. And secretly, behind the facade of a smile and a good morning and a praise the Lord and a how are you, you will wonder if you're ever going to get out of what you're into.
One of the things that we know about life is that it is always changing. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes you're happy, and sometimes you're sad. Now that's that thing called life. And when we begin to understand and know that, accepting that reality, that we will never ever have things just on an even keel all the time, that you're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs. But during those down moments, that's where the growth takes place. That's where the work is. Anybody can feel good when they have their health, their bills are paid, they have happy relationships, the children are acting normal, business is successful. Anybody could be positive then. Anybody can have faith under those kinds of circumstances. See, but the real challenge of growth, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, comes when you get knocked down. Adversity introduces a man to himself or a woman. How you handle it, that's where the growth takes place.
Most of y'all have visions and ideas that are sent to you, and you're trying to explain it to other people, and because they were never sent the vision, most of y'all say, well, maybe it's not meant to be. That was something that God sent you. That was your vision, your idea. It's not his or not hers. So what ends up happening is your family, your friends, they end up talking you out of your individual experience that you have with God.
I don't know what kind of odds are against you today, physically, financially. I don't know what kind of storm has come or trying to come into your life. If you wait too long to decide what you're going to do with your life, you'll find out that you've already done it. You have to learn to start where you are. Big doors swing on little hinges.
When you start renaming it and you start reframing it and you choose to remain in it, what happens is you produce this word. It's called resiliency. The righteous man, he falls 7 times, but he gets back up. I'm choosing today to get back up, to remain in the grind.
We all have these tough moments in life. And see, they can make you or they can break you. Come on now, come on, bring it, come on now. I had to replace fearfulness with being fearless and take the initiative to do something else with my life.
Greatness is not inherited. It's not the result of birth, in other words. You can be born high and live low. Or you can be born low, but you can still live high. Your greatness is not determined by your pedigree or the family that you were born into. Your parents can be great and you can be a dummy.
The key to your future is the successful management of time and change. You can't stop time, so all you can do with them is manage them. And you become what you are based on how you manage both of them.
step back and ask yourself the question, what do I do that's absolutely amazing? What do I do that's effortless to me? And what makes me feel confident? Figure that out. Whatever that may be, hold on to that and focus in on that and anchor into it. So when you do go into this new skill, realize it's a process, just like the other skills you've learned on your journey. The more you practice something, the better you get at it.
Commit yourself to learning. Feed your mind. Sharpen your interest in two major subjects, life and people. Learn more on how to get the most from life. Learn all that you can so that you can become all that you can become. Learning is the beginning of a life worth living. Learning is the beginning of happiness. Learning is the beginning of spirituality and faith. Learning and searching is where the process of creating your own personal miracle begins.
Greatness does not have to have the approval of everyone. And if you are the kind of person that will have to have the approval of everyone and understanding of everyone, you'll never achieve greatness. Greatness is uncommon. Greatness is not something that you see a lot. It distinguishes you from the crowd. It makes you stick out when you become great.
We find ourselves announcing our standards to our relatives, our friends, our associates. We shout our beliefs and condemn those who believe any differently, but then we don't walk the talk. Do as I say, not as I do. This is inconsistent. This leads to a loss of credibility among those who watch us.
Find somebody close enough to you that has observed you or been around you that you value their opinion, and ask them how do they see you, and then compare what you have with what they say. See, there are things many times that people can see in us that we can't see because it's a blind spot.
Also equates to a non-existence of a great life. And so embrace the fact that you're going to have to sacrifice and suffer to some extent. Once you've embraced that it's going to happen, it's almost not that bad. It's kind of like those of you that are fit. You've sort of accepted that before you go to the gym and get there, you're going to have to suffer. And we go anyway. It becomes a habit.
It takes discipline to change a habit, because habits are formed a little bit each day, every day. Once habits are formed, they act like a giant cable that only long-term disciplined activity can change. It takes the consistent application of a new discipline, a more desirable one, to overcome one which is less desirable. We must unweave every strand of the cable of habits slowly and methodically.
If it does not measure up to my expectations, I'm not going to invest my time. I don't have the luxury to waste time. I'm expecting some great things from life. So examine your expectations versus your wishes. Some people wish they could do better, but some people expect to do better. Where are you on that?
Anticipation is the ultimate advantage. Winners, leaders anticipate, losers react. The reason you get beat is you don't know where things are happening, so you're reacting. Reaction is always stressful. And yet so much of our life is predictable if we just were to study it, not be caught up in our day-to-day. It's predictable the challenges you're gonna have in your relationships or with your kids or with your body. These are predictable. And if you were to anticipate these things and put a strategy in place, you could take it all out and have the quality of life that you deserve. Those that anticipate, those that lead, and then there's those that follow. The followers are the reactionaries.
The system we live in and contribute to is designed to make the easiest things in life the most unprofitable. Our world is and always will be a constant battle between the life of ease and its momentary rewards and a life of discipline. Each has its own price, the price of discipline or the price of regret. We will pay one or the other.
Somebody said there is some good in the worst of us and some bad in the best of us. I want you to become involved in an active process to get some clutter out of your life. Start working on it. I'm going home tonight to clean my closets. Let's go home. Let that be our task this week.
Time is an amazing power. Every day, week, month, or year is a gift given to us by God to complete a task.
The human mind isn't used merely because we take it for granted. Familiarity breeds contempt. It can do any kind of job we assign to it, but generally speaking, we use it for little jobs instead of big important ones. Decide now. What is it you want? Plant your goal in your mind. It's the most important decision you ever make in your entire life.
Oh, when you give as much time and energy to your dream, to this new vision of yourself, I'll give you all your eyes can see. When you give as much time and energy to what you see, that creates the opening for miracles to show up in your life.
Do you want to be an outstanding salesman, a better worker at your particular job? Do you want to go places in your company, in your community? All you've got to do is plant that seed in your mind. Care for it. Work steadily toward your goal, and it will become a reality.
Dream chasing isn't for the serious. It's for the sincere. And the difference between being serious and being sincere is that serious people have a can-do attitude. Sincere people have a must-do attitude. That's how dreams become reality. They become a must. My children must survive. My life must change.
Now, if knowledge is power, if knowledge is the forerunner to success, then why do we fall short of our objectives? Do we find ourselves aimlessly wandering, settling for a life of existence rather than a life of substance? There may be many answers to this question. The fundamental answer is the absence of discipline.
Motivate doesn't mean to yell and scream and encourage. To motivate actually means to provide a motive, a reason why.
Picture yourself in your mind's eye as having already achieved this goal. See yourself doing the things you will be doing when you've reached your goal.
You know, what would you want from your friendships? What would you want from your intimate relationship? How would you like to structure your family? Well, how are you going to use your time outside of your job? And how are you going to regulate your mental and physical health, and maybe also your drug and alcohol use?
Typically, discouragement strikes at the midpoint of a project. Halfway up the mountain, you go, I still got to get to the top, and then I got to get all the way back. We get discouraged when something takes longer than I expected.
Some people are born with extraordinary size, strength, speed, and talent, but without determination, that talent never flourishes. Because determination is what turns average men and women into winners.
It should take you years to get out of debt, years to accomplish your dream. In the natural, that's true. But when you come into one of these destiny moments, it's going to happen in a fraction of the time.
It's got to happen. It's got to happen this year. It's got to happen this year. I can't have another year of chaos. I got to get the breakthrough this year. I got to change the culture. I have to change the circumstance. I can't fake the funk another year. I got to see some movement in my life. If I got a witness in the house, show some sign. This is my year to bring about transformative, substance, life-changing change.
If you could look back throughout the years, what you would discover is that mark by mark, you have been maturing. You have been growing. It's just been gradual. It's just been little by little. I know you're not where you want to be yet, but baby, you have come a long way. You're growing gradually. I'm growing gradually. It's little by little. I love the quote by J.R.R. Tolkien. He's the one who wrote The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and he says, little by little, one travels far.
No one is born a world champion, just like no one is born a brain surgeon. The successful do what they must, what they can to be the best. to be number one. For me, it was a 5-mile run at 5 a.m. in the morning. For you, maybe continue to be the leader in payroll and human resource industry. And these may be somewhat of a painful sacrifice, but it is this type of determination that just happens to build tremendous confidence. Confidence in knowing that most likely your competitors are not doing the same sacrifices. Determination gives you that, it gives you that mental edge.
The secret to change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but building the new you. Put all your energy, not fighting the old, but building the new you. So what is it that you have to do in order to do that? Number one, self-awareness. See, at the end of the day, all of us are the same. The only thing that separates us are the choices we make, the habits that we embrace. And I realize you've got to sacrifice who you've been in 2020. You got to sacrifice whoever that person was. You got to let it go. You got to sacrifice that and put all of your time and energy on building the new you. And building the new you, in my particular case, is more discipline. In my particular case, monitoring myself and my progress, staying on top of it, watching, am I doing well? Am I moving in the direction where I want to move? To give up the things that will distract me from doing that, to make the sacrifice of some things that I enjoy doing, but I can't afford to do it because it's soaking up time, and time is life. Time is life.
Learn to work with the people who deserve it, not the people who need it. You must be like life itself. Respond to deserve, not to need. It doesn't say if you need, you will have a harvest. It doesn't say if you need a harvest, you'll have a harvest. It's not what it says. It says if you plant, chances are good you'll have a harvest. If you plant, you will reap. Not if you need, you will reap. So we must be like life itself. Respond to the people who deserve it by planting, by taking the first step. Even God himself says, if you move toward me, I'll move toward you. That's the condition. You move toward me, I'll move toward you, says the Almighty. When babies are born, they were not designed just to be carried. Babies were not born to be carried all their life. Someday you've got to try your legs. Someday you've got to try your wings. Someday you've got to try. Even if you fall down, you've got to try, because you can't just crawl around all your life. You can't be carried all your life.
These are chaotic times. These are chaotic times, unpredictable, uncertain times. These are the kinds of times that all of our establishments and institutions are going through metamorphosis, and we're not sure where they're going.
I like to be the man I never was, that I never became. Well, every time I speak, I see this as such a sacred opportunity. And I'm so happy. Sometimes I think I'm dreaming, because when I look back on my life, and this Les Brown that you see was in bondage for so many years, didn't come out till late in my life. I had him under arrest. I was in bondage with fear. I wanted to do what I'm doing. And I thought about things I wanted to accomplish, and I held myself back because I was afraid to fail. I was afraid to make mistakes. I was afraid that I would embarrass myself. I was intimidated by people who had college degrees because I didn't have a college degree. And so I would think about the things I wanted to do, and then I would start thinking about the fact, Les, you can't do that. So that's what I told this guy in me. Les, you can't do that. You don't have a college education. Les, I hear what you're saying, but come on, be logical, be practical. Oh yes, I know people told you you have a gift of gab and you have a nice personality and you're funny and you make people feel good and you make them laugh, but you become a speaker, speak for corporations, train and teach people and motivate people to do something you've never done? You're not rich, you're not successful, you don't have any books, you don't have the resources, you don't know the people, you don't have the contacts. You can't do that, Les Brown. See, my heart said I can do that. And then I made a critical mistake. I asked how. The mind became operative. The mind came up front and said, Les Brown, I heard what your heart said, but I want to ask you, how will you do that? And so I went from my heart to my mind, and I tried to figure it out.
You're watching and you're so frustrated because you're looking around left and right and you're comparing your today to somebody else's, and you're going, but they're growing and they're flourishing. I don't know if that's really the case. I just wonder if every time you check in on them, all you're seeing is the marks on the pantry door. That you weren't there for the gradual growth. You weren't there for the little by little. You're comparing your slow to their fast, and it's leaving you in a place that you are discouraged.
It's not knowing what to do. That's not the battle. It's not actually doing it. That's not the battle. It's the moment in between. It's the hesitation. Hesitation is the enemy. And in war, understanding where the enemy is allows you to defeat him. And this is where the enemy of action, the enemy of commitment, the enemy of change, that's where the enemy lies. It lies in the waiting. And all you have to do to win is overcome that moment, the waiting, the hesitation. All you have to do is go, move, take action. Get out of bed, get your feet on the ground, step into the gym, put down the donut, pick up the kettlebell. Do not hesitate, do not wait. Go forward. Go to war and win every single time.
Don't let the darkness fool you. Don't let the liars fool you. Don't let the haters fool you. Don't let the lack of resources fool you. You have already crossed over into a brand new day. If you're sitting beside somebody that's not hungry, move, because you can't have no dead weight around you right now. You're ready to go to the next level. You got to be ready to move. That's what's wrong with you now. You're carrying dead bodies. But I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I didn't know I would get this old and still be hungry. But don't let the gray hair fool you. It's gray, but I'm still hungry. I'm a boomer with millennial tendencies. Yeah, all the hungry people make some noise.
You have the ability to create and design the kind of life that you want. And in this place where we are right now, things have changed dramatically. And so you have to make a dramatic change in yourself in order to accomplish the things that you want. What does that look like? What is it you have to do? In my case, mine and my battle has been with cancer, 4th stage. That looks like intensifying my efforts and monitoring everything that I eat. It has to be organic. But my state of mind, keeping stress to a minimum. I don't play that. Anything that's unhealthy, anybody that's unhealthy for me, I cut off the relationship. I don't ask them, why did you do that? I cut it off. Why? It's my life. See, we got enough to deal with. When you got the coronavirus that has now mutated into another lethal form and easier to spread, that kind of tension and stress by itself is enough. So you're not given the luxury of accommodating
toxic, negative people in your life if you want to live. And you have to put your foot down and say, I don't do drama. Don't come up here with that. I don't do drama. And you don't have to defend that. See, there is no duplicate for life. You only get one. And so you want to live it to the fullest. You want to have special moments. You want to have peace of mind. 47% of Americans can't get a good night's sleep. And I've been one of them. Bobby, you have to work at it.
Fear is telling you, don't try. I'll keep you safe. I'll save you from embarrassment. I'll save you from pain. You have to understand that fear is only loyal to who you used to be. But if I'm going to break this thing down for you, let me break it down like this. I'm going to tell you what you're really afraid of. You're scared of who you have to become in order to start living. Who do you have to become in order to get back into the water, in order to try? Who do you have to become in order to go back to school and try? Who do you have to become in order to want again? I'm asking you, what is it going to take for you to explore your potential in a bigger space? All that potential, all that energy in you is being trapped by fear and being restricted to explore a small space. That kind of pressure causes stress, and when you're stressed, your world shrinks. All of your energy repurposes itself to focus on your safety, on your time, and on whatever else looks like a threat in your environment. That sounds like surviving, not living. You're not a rock, so stop acting so hard and so inflexible about life. Stop using your fear to create rules that limit the scope of what life has to offer. It's easier said than done, I know, particularly when you've accepted fear as a lifestyle. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be the sort of person who experiences more of what it's like to be a father? Do you want to experience more of what the world has to offer? Do you want to start living out that dream you've been holding on to for years? Whoever you've decided to be, that's who your fear is fighting. So fight back. Fight back with a new mindset. Fight back with a new set of routines. Fight back with people who are moving the way you're moving, who are moving where you're moving, and who want more of what you want.
Make a conscious effort to look at and recruit people in your life that you know that have been good to you, that you need to deepen that relationship, that they bring out the best in you, they inspire you, they make you feel good about yourself, y'all have fun together. You want to reach out to those people and schedule some time to see each other virtually each week, where you have individual and collective goals that you're working on. When you upgrade your relationships, when you make it a point to consciously get toxic, negative, energy-draining people who have a propensity for creating drama out of your life. And I'm sure you've had the experience when somebody who created a whole lot of problems for you and something happened, and when it ended, you say, whoa, I had no idea. Do something that the future you will say, thank you for making that decision. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for taking your life in a new direction. That's what you want your future self to say. This will not be a new year unless you learn something this year that will have a dramatic impact on your life that you did not know last year, that will allow you to take care of yourself, that allow you to control your own personal economy, that allow you to call your own shots, that allow you to have peace of mind.
%80 of success is psychology, 20% is mechanics. The problem is most people live in their heads. They have their dream, they have their goal, they have their desire, they get hyped up about it, they get fearful about it, and they just don't execute.
Let's imagine for a few moments what our life would be like if we could access 20% of our brain's capacity.
It is not the movement of the clock that produces the newness of life. It is the movement in your mind. Your old friends won't understand it. Put it behind you. You're going to hear all kinds of things said about you. Throw it behind you. The enemies that you see today, you will see them no more. No weapon formed against you shall be able to prosper.
Action is the key to everything. Even if you take the wrong action, if you keep changing your approach, you can succeed in anything. It's an illusion that knowledge is power. Knowledge is potential power. Knowledge is trumped every single day by execution. Don't get me wrong, I'm a strategist. The right strategy can save you a decade. But if you don't have the right psychology, you'll learn the strategy, you won't apply it. So psychology is the driving force that creates an extraordinary business and an extraordinary life.
I've never met a person who was not successful that didn't have a great amount of self-discipline within their life. Self-discipline and being able to perform and being able to keep your life on schedule and being able to keep commitments and promises and meet deadlines is essential to success.
Understanding and knowing that we can move from where we are, that we can begin to design the kind of life that empowers us, that gives us happiness, that enable us to be on top of who we are. Knowing that as we begin to explore new horizons and new vistas in life, that as we begin to focus on developing ourselves, activating the thinker in us and disciplining and putting on hold the emotional part of ourselves. It's not easy, but through practice and practice and practice, practice makes improvement. You can always better your best. You can always go beyond anything that you have ever done. You'll never hit a state of perfection. You're always bigger than what you do. And so all you're looking for are new breakthroughs through practice and practice and practice. You'll get better and better and better.
Either you're going to control your time or your time's going to control you. Either you are going to dictate the terms of your life or you're going to be someone who reacts and responds throughout their life. So one of the tips that I've covered before but not enough people implement that I promise you is a quality of max out performers that relates to their time is they control it. They do not react and respond. They dictate the terms of their life most of the time.
Just go follow your dream, man. Go make your life happen. Identify your God-given gift and go on get your life. Quit tripping because you don't have what a group of people told you you need to be successful. If you're not a degree person, you can go to school all you want. If that's not in you, how you gonna get a degree? Quit letting people tell you the route to success when clearly God created you to be different. Just go that route. All my friends got college degrees, all of them. I flew all of them to Cancun, Mexico last year. Now, if you want to be a doctor, scientist, or lawyer, you got to get a degree. But if you're not that person, you can still make it. Quit tripping because you don't have what he got. You ain't finna be what he is. God made you different. Just go be different.
The number one thing probably killing your dream isn't your hater, isn't the feedback, isn't the criticism, right? Isn't the concern. It's the energy you expense and expand by worrying so much. It's your addiction to other people's approval that will ultimately kill your dream. That's actually the symptom. The symptom is, I'm so addicted to what other people think about me. The disease is lack of self-confidence in ourselves. Build up your self-confidence. So this addiction to what other people think about you is eliminated or reduced in your life. The fact of the matter is this, what other people think about you is none of your business.
I vote that you learn from these people, that you learn how to forget about the past, that you learn how to ignore people that are negative, that you learn to control your vengeful ideas, and that you learn to move on into the future where you're going to meet better people and better times are to be had. That's what I would recommend. Don't worry about these people from the past.
You won't have the strength to move forward if you're weeping over what's behind. It takes a lot of energy to think about the past. relive the hurts, wonder why it didn't work out. That person you lost, if they were supposed to be here, they would still be here. If somebody left you, I say it respectfully, you don't need them. If it didn't work out the way you had planned, it wasn't supposed to.
Behind every moment of adversity in your life, two things will happen. There is a lesson and there is a blessing. Every moment of adversity has those two things that come with it. Pain always leaves a present. Every time you're in pain, it leaves a gift behind. Because God always has a gift behind every moment of pain that you have. When a man leaves you, there is a gift behind him leaving. Sometimes the breakup is the blessing. See, sometimes you got to get rid of a man in order for God to give you the man that you really need. So every time something bad happens, you just have to wait on the lesson and the blessing. It always happens. It always happens.
None of us can afford to have a life that is controlled by someone else, or a life that is basically controlled by our emotions. I learned many years ago that there are two kinds of people. There's the type of person who says, I'm going to wait till I feel like it before I do it. And then there's a person who says, I've got to do it so that I feel like it. One will never get anything done because they're still waiting to feel the moment to move. And the other person says, no, I need to move, and then I will begin to feel the moment.
If you want to get around bitter and complaining people, get around people who are not seeing much activity. They're bitter, they're complaining, they're cynical, and they're jealous because nothing is happening. If you want to get around less gossip and less jealousy, get around successful, busy people. Because busy people don't have time to care what's going on in your life. I have no need to investigate what's going on in your life. I have so much going on in my own life that I'm not interested in what I heard that they said that you thought, that if I thought what you said that I didn't mean if you heard it. The only people who have time for that is people who are not doing anything. And they watch your life like it's a soap opera because they're living their life vicariously through you. What's going on in your life intrigues them because nothing is going on in their life. And if you want to stop that from happening to you, wake up in the bed and know what you're going to have to get up out of the bed with an agenda. When you have an agenda, you don't spend time worrying about how you feel because it doesn't make any difference how you feel. You woke up with something to do.
There's no limits. You know, don't let the world ever put limits on you. You can do anything you want to do. But make sure if you have a vision, make sure the vision is written. You know, make sure you have something to actually chase and not just hoping and wishing and all these different things. So I tell guys this all the time. Put your plan together and then work the plan. Don't work somebody else's plan, right? That's one thing about the league. I love the league, but the league is somebody else's brand, right? You have to create your own brand yourself. And your brain is whatever you feel like doing, whatever your heart is passionate about, chase it.
People go through their lives without knowing what it is they want to do, what they want to accomplish. Be clear in your mind in what you intend to achieve. Know what you are going to do. That doesn't seem like too much to ask.
You got to affirm, I will persist until I succeed. You have to have persistence, you have to have patience and perseverance. It takes courage to come back again and again and again. Write this down. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. But if you do what is hard, your life will be easy.
The count probably has high cholesterol. Why? Over the last 6 years, he never paid attention to either one. And it doesn't matter whether it's a dollar, whether it's your money, or whether it's your cholesterol count. All you got to do is commit the errors, and just because disaster doesn't fall on you at the end of the first day that you don't eat an apple. You say, well, I didn't eat an apple today, and tonight I'm not ill. Well, you got to be brighter than that. Someday you got to leave first grade. The reason we make those first grade desks so small so they won't fit at age 25. Right? You don't belong here anymore. Come on. Now let me give you the secret to success. Formula for failure. A few errors in judgment repeated every day for 1 month starts the weakness. starts the disaster process. You can imagine what happens in 6 years. Now here's the formula for success. A few simple disciplines practiced every day. And you've started a whole new process called a whole new life. A few simple disciplines practiced every day. And if you decide today to go for the apple instead of the Hershey bar, I'm telling you, you have begun the process of turning your life around. And if you keep up that process, not only with your health habits, but with your money habits, and with your communication habits, with your sales habits, management habits, and every other habit that you got, if you'll start that process, eliminate the errors and replace it with disciplines practiced, I'm telling you, you can start this process of life change immediately. After today, you don't ever have to be the same again. Only by choice. You don't have to walk out of here the same as you walked in today. Only by choice. You can start a whole new process. And you say, well, Mr. Rohn, is it that simple? Yes, it's that simple. Where else would you start? But with an apple. You don't have to start with something staggering. What if you should be walking around the block for your good health and you don't? What'll that do in 6 years? I'm telling you, the word is disaster. You could and you should and you don't. Here's an even stronger word. You won't. I mean, don't might mean you're careless. Won't probably means you're stubborn. And either one's called disaster. Could, should, don't. I'm telling you, that's why at the end of 6 years, I found myself with pennies in my pocket, nothing in the bank, creditors calling. Now how do you change all that? The next 6 years I got rich. The next 6 years I became a millionaire. By the time I'm 31, I'm a millionaire. How about that? You say, well, Mr. Rohn, what happened? Well, strangely enough, during that second 6 years of my economic life, the government was about the same. I'm telling you, taxes were about the same. My negative relatives were the same. I'm telling you, the economy was about the same, and prices were about the same, and everything else was about the same. Circumstances were about the same. Then how come I got rich? How come I totally changed my life? I was not the same. Somebody says, well, what did you go to work on to do all that? I started with my philosophy. I started amending my errors by doing some better thinking, changing my mind, coming up with ideas that I didn't have before I met my teacher. And once that whole process started for me, I'm telling you, I changed my whole life. Within a 6-year period, I was never the same. And I've kept up that process all these years. That process all these years. That process all these years.